Today, let's talk all about the podcast art that you need to create before you launch your podcast. I got some tips for you that you might find helpful. Stick around, I'll let you know what they are. Hey there, it's the Shan Man, radio broadcaster, podcaster, and podcast producer. And today we are filming on top of a mountain in the Phoenix Mountain Preserves in Phoenix, Arizona. It is a very warm December afternoon, and I had to get out of the house. It's very dark in my house, and I needed to really kind of get my creative juices flowing. And this is my place, this is my happy place to get up into the mountain and just enjoy and soak in what kind of weather we have here when the rest of the country is it's rainy and it's snowy. So today I want to talk to you about creating your own podcast art and getting into that creative space of creating your own podcast art. Likely you're not a Photoshop pro, and if you are, that's good for you, but maybe this is for someone who is not a Photoshop pro and doesn't know how to utilize Photoshop all that well. I want to share with you the tips that I am using to create podcast photo art or cover art for my own podcast and even my client podcasts. So first things first, we need to get a couple things straight when it comes down to creating your own podcast. Let's get a couple technical things out of the way, okay? First thing you need to know is that you need to create a podcast cover art image that is going to be in the dimensions of 3000 by 3000, okay? So 3000 by 3000 is going to be a square. It's going to be a very large square that Apple is going to ask for. That is a requirement by Apple. They are going to ask you to put that into whatever hosting service that you are subscribing to for that, for your podcast, and that will feed over into iTunes, all right? So 3000 by 3000 is a tip that you need to know. The next thing you need to know is, what are you using to create this podcast art? Now, I'm going to go ahead and agree with all the other YouTubers that you've probably watched in this video or on YouTube about podcast art, and I'm going to say, yes, use Canva. Canva is probably the easiest way to create podcast art, only because it's not Photoshop, and it's kind of like photo design, graphic design for dummies. And you go in there and you create your podcast art or whatever type of art you want to create. You'll see it when you jump into Canva, and you can get it done right there really, really fast. All right. So now let's talk a little bit about the aesthetics of your podcast cover art. What should your podcast cover art entail? What should it look like? What should you include? All right. Now let's start first with a personal brand. If you're a personal brand like me, the Shan Man brand, you likely probably want to have your own face on the cover image. All right. That's probably going to be the best because my branding is on point with who I am. I'm a podcaster. I'm a broadcaster. I help other podcasters create podcasts, and I help, and I go out to these concerts and I help other people have a good time and enjoy life. And I am my own brand. So that's something that I have really taken into consideration, is knowing that I have to create something that people are going to remember, whether it be the long hair that's dark and the beard and, wearing the Ray-Bans. I understand and know what my brand is all about. So what is your brand all about? How have you gotten your brand to be on point with yourself when it comes to your own personal brand? Do you have a different hair color? Do you embrace something that is unique to you? That probably should be included in your cover art, okay? Now, let's talk a little bit about, maybe you aren't your own personal brand. Maybe you're a company. Maybe what you're looking to do is you are looking to create an image that is just your logo, and that logo needs to have the title of your podcast. Now, if you're going to create the title of your podcast, and this is going to go for personal brands as well, it needs to be in large lettering so that people can read it when they go into the iTunes store. That's going to be a key thing, because when you're scrolling through the iTunes store, you're looking for something that is going to catch your eye, a unique image, okay? Whether that image have bright colors, whether that image has a unique look to it, the unique photo to it, you're going to want to create an image that will capture someone's eye so that they're willing to click on it and say, oh, that is really cool. So what does your business, or what is your company brand, or your just brand in general, what does that look like? Is it just going to be an image itself with the logo? You got to think about those things and get your branding on point. A quick tip that you can utilize to figuring out how to create a really cool cover photo is just by going into the iTunes store, or maybe the Google Play Store or Spotify store, look at album covers. Album covers are a great way where you can look at how the pros are doing it. Like, Look at the lettering, look at the type of font that's there, look at maybe if it's a black and white photo, maybe it's just a solid color and then it's just got some text on it. You need to figure that out and look at what some of the cooler images are inside of iTunes for album covers for musicians. That's kind of a cool way of looking at it. Or maybe even going into looking at book covers. Book covers are another cool way to figuring out how you can create your podcast cover art. That is one way to do it, all right? Now, one thing that I have created for podcasters is a photo school for your smartphone. I'm someone who likes to create my own cover art. I don't like using stock image photos because I don't feel like it adds that personal touch. That's just part of my own philosophy, and I feel as though if I'm not creating something that is my own, then what's the point? I'm just kind of hawking things from everyone else, and we definitely don't want to be stealing images off the internet. So I figured, why not go ahead and create my own photos? So that's why I created the Smartphone Photo School. And what the Smartphone Photo School does is that it teaches a person who is the average person, everyday person, because that's who I am, teaches them how to utilize and create cool cover art for their podcast, or maybe for their blog, or maybe for, I don't know, it could be for just about anything. Maybe it's for their presentation. What I have done, and what you can see right here in this photo, is that I've created a photo using my phone. This photo was taken last night from this very mountain. It was a windier day yesterday, and so there were a lot more clouds out, and I took this photo. This is what it looked like beforehand, and this is what it looks like after, and I actually edited this on the fly while I was on the mountain. So that's what the Smartphone Photo School can teach you. It teaches you how to take ordinary pictures and make them extraordinary, or even more extraordinary than normal, okay? It teaches you all the functions inside of your phone. It also teaches you the application. It gets more in depth with the application that I am using to create these photos as well. All the photos that you see on my Instagram have been created using my iPhone. They are unique to me. They are unique to what I do. That's why I create them. And that's why I've used them for my podcast cover art. As you can see right here, this photo right here was created on my iPhone 7 and one application, and that's it. Oh, and I put it in Canva, and that was about it, okay? So, as you can see, the Smartphone Photo School will teach you a little more if you're looking to get more creative and a little more unique to your brand and your podcast cover art brand. So make sure that you look into all the options whenever it comes to creating your podcast art. And if you need an extra lift in your creativity, you got to check out the Smartphone Photo School. That link is going to be down in the description below if you're interested in taking the course available right now. And of course, everything else down below, if you're looking to start a podcast and you just don't know where to start, you can click the link down below to a quick start guide to starting your own podcast. In the meantime, I want to know how you guys are starting your own podcast or how you're creating your own podcast art. Leave it in the comment section down below. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the video, and of course you can subscribe to my newsletter over at theshanman.com. That's where I give out all other kinds of tips, and I share reminders about these videos, but I also give out other tools that people on YouTube aren't getting. You just got to be on the newsletter list in order to grab those tools that I am creating every day for podcasters. So in the meantime, enjoy the rest of your day wherever you are in the country. I've got to get back down off the mountain before it gets dark. As you can see, and as you can see on my face, it's kind of getting dark around here, and I don't want to be walking in the dark. So you guys be good. Take care.